Hello the internet! It is Thursday the 30th of January 2020. This is a very sad vlog to make and not the greatest way to kick off my first vlog for a new year and a new decade, but I think this is a story that needs to be told, needs to be explained, needs to be shared. The advice that I'm going to give may help people in the future. This here is the neighbor's house across the street from where I live. As you can see, it's all gone, it's burnt, completely burnt down. You would think this would be something to do with the chronic bushfire situation that this country has been hammered with since October last year, but this is a house fire. What kicked this off was a house fire. So what I was doing at the time that this kicked off was sleeping. It was close to 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, we're just across the street through that gap there. First thing I did was to grab this camera and document everything. There is an issue there that I want to address at another point, because I went through a strange mindset about vlogging this incident. I do want to touch on that another time, and I think the live stream might be the best option for that. But for the sake of this vlog here, what I would like to do is to show you the footage, condensed it down, because I obviously shot the entire fire. This thing blazed on until the afternoon the following day. It was still burning 36 hours later, but the bulk of the fire kicked off and went through till well into the morning, the 10, 11, 12, midday, from 3 a.m. all the way through. Now what I want to show you is like a condensed version of it. And the reason I want to show it to you, I think it's going to be useful for people that maybe find themselves in a situation like this. So you may have never experienced the sounds of the fire, you may never experience the amount of smoke, the amount of confusion, and unless you see it, unless you feel it, you will never really prepare for it. So that's the point of this video here. The point of the live stream, you know, once we've done that, I'll put a link to it here, but there won't be one right away, but once we've had that stream, I'll link it up there. That live stream will be talking about how it felt to document something like this and the importance of documenting something like this. But for the time being, let me show you the footage so you can get an understanding of just how intense this kind of thing is and what you should potentially do if it ever happens to you. Okay, so what you're hearing there is the sirens from the smoke alarms in the property. You can also hear Steve, the owner, vomiting. That's Steve saying, where are, well, that's my mum saying, where are they? But that's Steve, the owner. In the terms I would use is whimpering. He's devastated. They've called the fire brigade already. He's devastated. They're not there yet, and there was confusion at that point. There was something that went down. It's no point bringing that up now, but there was a delay in the response to the fire brigade, and you can hear it in this man's voice. Devastating. It's hard to listen to. He's watching his house that they've only just finished building burn down, right? He's devastated. So it's at that point when I realized that this is more gnarly than what I thought. My initial response was to document, then I realized, no, this is way gnarlier. Camera went down, I ran out into the street, grabbed the fire hose, the garden hose. What you don't see, because the camera's basically on the bed sitting there filming nothing, you don't see me come out there saying to Steve, is this under control? And he said, no, it's not under control. And I went and grabbed the garden hose and dragged it all the way down and looked at the fire and went, wow, dude, this little pissy little garden hose isn't going to do a thing. So that's what happens in this intermission when you don't see anything happening. And obviously I've cut that for this video. There's no point leaving this long gap of nothing. So that viewpoint there is from my bathroom window, which is just through here. My initial thoughts was this thing's gonna get big. We need to document it from that spot. So I tried to position this camera on that windowsill just to capture everything. I quickly realized that's not gonna happen. I need to have that out with me. So then I set up my phone, my iPhone 7 Plus, set that up on a tripod, documenting from that space there, just in case things went out of control, right? And things really started getting higher, and you need to be able to see how and when that happened. Don't forget, all this stuff is time-stamped on phones and on cameras. All of it's time-stamped, date-stamped, minute-stamped. This can be critical information for later on down the track. All that cracking glass you can hear, that's an indicator of how much heat this fire already had at that point. The heat is cracking all the windows, all the glass is just cracking, all the framing is expanding, and when frames expand, they wobble, they move. The glass just doesn't handle that tension. Smash, you just hear it smashing, and then you hear the secondary crash when that glass hits the ground. This is frightening. This is a frightening sound, and if you've never heard it before, you've never been around it, it's disturbing. It's a disturbing sound. I'm not going to lie. It's giving me chills now. I mean, you can tell from just that scene there, you're not putting that out with a garden hose. You need high pressure fire hoses, multiple, at that point. So again, in my mind, at this point, it was more about documenting than trying to fight a fire with a garden hose.
How come the fire brigade's not here?
It's me. Now what I'm doing there, I'm going through the gate onto the neighbor's property, so the adjacent property to our house. You kind of see a little bit before, there's a little hut in the way, and I figured that would be the premium spot, assuming that didn't catch fire, that would be the premium spot to sort of get an angle and maintain that angle. Now, I didn't know how ferocious it was going to be, but that was what was going, that's why I went through that gate right then. I jumped over the fence. There's the hut there. It's actually another garage.
The whole house is burning up. What the fuck?
And that's the fire began in the garage, which is where that flame is. That's the garage. The next little window you see is the entrance to the house. Or actually, sorry, that's my bad. That window is the bedroom window where the owners were sleeping when this kicked off. So you can see the fire began down below in the garage, and then fire goes up, heat goes up. That was the very risk that area, in my mind, that area could have been saved had the fire brigade arrived in time. But that's not the point of this video, but I'm just putting out what I said right then. The whole house is burning up. Where's the fire brigade? It's like, we live in a small community here. The fire brigade is only 2 to 3 kilometers away, and there was none. This was now kicking into the 15-minute mark. Again, I digress. Irrelevant information, but just what was going through my head at the time, as I'm sure it was going through the owners, Wendy and Steve. That's Wendy, the house owner, wondering if she should turn the hoses on the other side to protect the other side of the house. Now that's me jumping back to the initial spot I was at, putting the camera down. Again, when you're documenting something like this, the sound is equally as important as the vision. So if there's a point where you can't put your camera on something, never hit pause. Let it roll, just put the camera down, and at least it'll catch the audio. Audio can be equally as valid for piecing back a story later on as vision. I was running behind the garage, the hut thing, and I put the camera down thinking, well, if anything, so what I haven't explained yet was there was explosives, potential explosives, LPG, or you may know it as propane gas, cylinders down in that garage. And there was the confusion of they're going to blow. And if that blows, there's a distinct risk between, projectile damage, more flames hitting other properties. So I just wanted to make sure that if that was going to blow, we needed a timestamp of when that happened. I didn't want to be in the line of fire of it, so I ran behind that hut. You have to preserve yourself. You have to have self-preservation. I ran behind the hut. I also thought about my mum. Was she still standing on that front porch as I walked past in a dressing gown? You need to get inside the house. We also had the family here, my sister and the children. They need to get as far back from any potential impact zone as possible, but the camera needs to document. There's the gate opening again. And of course, what you don't see in that gap is that nothing exploded. And so there's a cut there in the footage. So that's why I've come in, done all the things. The family's gone way out the back onto the hill. We've taken all of our possessions. We were thinking the fire brigade may tell us when they arrive, evacuate now. And they don't give you time to get things. So we got everything ready onto the kitchen table, ready to go right out towards the east, towards the ocean, as far away from that potential explosion as possible. Nothing happened. And thankfully, right here, fire brigade arrive.
That took them long enough.
Jeez. Steve, house owner, husband, Wendy and Steve. And I'm not 100% certain, but you heard one of the fireys, you heard someone say explosives, and that's when I believe Steve would have gone down into the fire zone and dragged out these extra LPG cylinders. These are propane cylinders. These are big guys. I think they dragged them out themselves at that point. I'm backing out, right? You see me backing up. And right now in the distance, you can hear, sounds like cutting, right? You don't see any water yet. No water has been put on this fire at this point, which we're now looking, we're near into the 20-minute mark. Again, not the point of this story, but... That sounds like water, but it's not, and I'll explain what that is in a second. Sorry, that is water. Of course that's water. There's smoke there, right? My bad, that was water. There was water being put on at that point. Now, it's good to be documenting this and going through it with you as well, because obviously I got that bit wrong. There wouldn't be black smoke like that unless there was water, right? So there's water on there now, but that sound you can hear is something else, and I want to hear him say water on. You hear what sounds like a electrical saw or a big power tool? That's the other side of the house now. So the main impact, the burn zone was at the bottom right-hand corner. Now we're looking to the back left-hand corner, well, that angle anyway, and that's where they're cutting into the other side of the garage. This property had a drive-through carport where you could drive right through one side, out the other side. They're cutting into that to get in and fight the fire from the other side. That's why you hear electric saws and stuff.
What are they doing now? Cutting into something?
Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I understand now. And I'm giving you that information. That's what this is for. This is to give... You might be in a situation like this and you'll be like, Who's using a power saw? We got a fire to fight, right? Like, I didn't know. I didn't understand it. Well, this is pretty gut-wrenching right now, folks. We've been up for about an hour. It must be close to 4 a.m. And unfortunately, Wendy and Steve's house is burning down. And it's nothing to do with the bushfires, right? This is a house fire. It's been in 2 stages here. The first stage was the breakout of the fire, which took the fire brigades an awful long time to arrive. And they're local here, within 2 kilometers away, maybe 2.5 kilometers. And they took well over 15 minutes to arrive here. That's the part of the fire that was kicking off, right? And now they've contained it, but it's moved all the way through their house. Steve and Wendy's house is kind of a long rectangular house. It's the next one to ours, across the street. And there's another breakout fire breaking out down the back. In terms of danger here, probably not a great deal. Like I said, this is not bushfire related, ironically, right? We've been fighting fires all the way through for the sake of protecting bushland and houses around it. This is completely separate to that. It's actually sprinkling with rain right now. Unfortunately, most of their house is gone, and saddens me to say. So this is when it became very critical of what's going on. So those windows, or that one window you see that's now popped out and fire coming from, there's a series of those windows, and what you can't see, you can see the silhouette. There's my van, Steve van, and obviously our property. And so there was a concern at that point that, strangely enough, the fireys that were fighting it not once said, there's a danger here, can you please move your vehicle, or there's a potential. So I just left it in their hands. But in my mind, I was thinking, this is now becoming potentially a larger fire, engulfing maybe 2 to 3 houses. But I think the fireys knew more about it than, so I just let them do their thing. But again, document it from a distance, timestamp everything.
Being very, very sparing with the water, I've got to tell you.
And I did think that they were very sparingly using that water. I'm not sure what was going on at that point, but they weren't really hitting it hard. And maybe they thought it's no point. I don't know. You've got to give them the credit there. They didn't hit it very hard for whatever the reason. They got there late for whatever the reason, but that's what I thought. For the size of the fire, I thought they would have been dumping water on that at this point, and they were not. Now, I got to acknowledge, I don't know what that loud pop was. There was a whole series of those earlier as well. I don't know what they are. It's something combustible inside the premise. I don't know. Could be anything, right? Cooking spray, could be extra virgin olive oil in a glass jar. Who knows? But the point here is for you to hear it so that you don't get spooked if you're ever there, because it is frightening when that happens. It's it sounds like someone's throwing something at you.
Yeah, it's kicking through here now.
Go ahead, mate.
You see what's happening now? It's out of control now.
Don't get too close there, push.
I feel so sorry for Steve and Wendy. So now we're looking back to the initial breakout point underneath the garage and into the master bedroom area. And I guess this is the point where if you thought that there was any potential to save the house, I would suggest it's coming up to the point where it's like, that's done. It's an unusual shaped house. You will see that in the daylight. The shape of the house kind of hindered any sort of like potential to get in with water. They definitely couldn't enter the house themselves, the fire brigade. At this point, they did later on, but as you'll see, yeah.
I recommend you guys go in. This is toxic smoke.
That's the only time a fire brigade person spoke to me, and I was standing there with Sarah, relative of the family, and that's the only time that anybody ever said anything to me. I was there vlogging the whole thing, and she said there's toxic smoke, so I'd suggest you. But again, I had that position right next to the hut, the corner of the hut. You can see the brick wall there and the fire just around it. I had a good vantage point, a safe vantage point. Not only had a little pocket of air that wasn't smoke filled, but I also had just the way the flames were moving. They weren't really going to like attack me well, unless things got way more out of control, which thankfully they didn't. So that scene there, you can see 3 fireys hitting that one blaze. I thought, and again, I'm just a civilian here watching, but I thought they should have been doing that from the start. Just, who am I though, right? That's... You hear those sirens you were hearing? Don't be confused. They're not smoke alarms, internal house smoke alarms. I don't know for a fact, but I believe that is the fire truck saying it's out of water, or a warning, you're getting low on water, get ready to swap out trucks or whatever it is, right? I don't know. I'm no expert here, but I'm trying to give you information that may help you in the same scenario. Like the water's doing nothing there at all, right? The water's just making the fire worse. And I'm no scientist, but I understand water contains oxygen and fires need oxygen to breathe. So you heard him say, turn it off. It's like, it's almost like they're feeding the fire with the water. Is that wrong? Is that some kind of scientific logic? You put water onto the fire, you actually increase the fire because of the oxygen in the, I don't know. And you can start to see the shape of the house now, the roof, how it bends over. And you see a couple of hot spots of, this is like corrugated iron, and it's already hot enough to glow. You'll see it again. You can see the shape of the roof again, the apex, and you can see the sky getting lighter, so now we're moving into sunrise. So there's a little bit of light in the sky there for you. Now this is the owner, Steve, talking to Fireys to explain how the house, the way it's built, it's on the edge of land, and there's a very great risk that this thing will just collapse, and if it does, it'll collapse onto the property below. It's not directly below, it's below and across, but that was a very big concern. At this point, Steve was under the belief that it's going to go any second, so there was a huge concern. So that's looking into the hotspot where it began. Garage and living area above garage completely gutted. Bedroom, in this instance, doesn't look too bad. This fire kept burning all day. You still see flames in the daytime internally burning. And then I'll show you there you go. So these internal flames, they couldn't put them out. They pulled you see them pulling all the insulation out because it was just going to burn. And they spray this white foam over it. It's like a fire retardant. It's like I don't know what it is, but they coated the whole house in it multiple times. Now that's the concern there. Obviously you see the gutting on the inside and the house below. So the big concern was that thing's going to topple over. And that's the damage. That's the garage where it all kicked off. That's a better shot of the side there. So at this point, I documented they brought a demolition team in to demo the house accurately so that it wouldn't fall on the other house. Now, there's no point showcasing that footage here, but the point of this was to walk you through the sights, the sounds, and give you the guidance if you ever find yourself in a situation like this. Maybe you'll be a little bit more chilled, a little bit more relaxed because you've had first-hand experience, I guess. That's my first time I've experienced that. I'm still kind of a bit weirded about it, a bit emotional about it, I've had terrible dreams, and just it doesn't really feel right. It's never going to feel good. It's not even me that it happened to, but there's a weird vibe about it. Hopefully you guys, if anybody goes through this, I can help you somewhat. So there you go, folks. I hope that's kind of been somewhat helpful for you. Again, I know this is an intense vlog to kick off the new year, the new decade with, but I do think this is important. You may experience something similar to this, and any guidance you can have Any experiences anyone can give you can certainly help. But I feel like we shouldn't end this on such a negative note, because not just myself, but the owners of this property, they're in good spirits as best as they can be. Where we live, or where this house is situated, there's the beach just over the road. So how about we end this vlog on a positive note and we go and have a look at the ocean. That can always bring spirits back up. That can always charge the soul. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that make you feel better? Come down here, see the ocean, breathe in, feel better. Now, you know me as a surfer, these conditions aren't the greatest for surfing. I'm always looking at the waves thinking, can I sneak in a ride here? Not so great, but I have checked the Wily Weather app, and the best break that's happening right now, Kinghorn, which is about 25 kilometers to the south. So let's take a trip down there right now and catch some waves. Oh, that's we're out of time! I know, I keep running out of time on my own channel. You think I'd get that checked out by now, right? Hey, look, if you like what you've seen here on the channel and you want to contribute financially, there's plenty of ways to do that in the description field of this video. And if you haven't done this already and you want to make sure you don't miss any of my future uploads, hit the subscribe button here. You can also check out my previous vlog here or a random vlog there, and you can become a patron of mine here. What's that? No, I'm busy with my end slate. I'll be with you in a few seconds. A few more seconds is all I require. All right, I'm coming now.